Happy Father's Day. And yeah, this one right here is for my pops, my dad. Where do I start? Dad, honestly just want to thank you for not only being there in my life, but just being a role model. You know, you see the most interesting thing about my dad is he doesn't say much. He shows his actions. He shows what being a man really looks like. And I never really had to ask him what being a man was really like. I just had to learn from what he was doing, how he handled serious situations, how he was communicating with other people, his encounters, how he treated them, and I was like, okay. Yeah, man, my dad. I love you. I really do. My family, we all love you. And I know like I can understand how different life must feel for you, because I mean you're coming from so far away, you weren't born here, coming from Rwanda, right? You've seen a lot, and you experienced a lot. I mean, you had to, on this channel we talk about letting go. My father truly had to let go. He had to let go for the better, understanding that there were more blessings to come in the future. And they truly were. I mean, growing up in America, coming from a strong upbringing, my father, he took care of us, and he worked his butt off, y'all. For me to even be here, to even talk to you guys, the opportunity for me to go to a good school, I'm forever grateful. And I think that's what being a father is all about. Providing, being a role model, showing integrity when nobody's watching. And honestly, just being assertive, not settling for anything less than expected. He is truly the best of the best. And that's what I admire most about my dad, y'all. And if you were me, you would understand, seeing how hard he worked, how much he sacrificed for, me and my brothers, how much he cared about us. He didn't even have to say it. He just showed it by, his actions. When I was sick, when my brothers were sick, he was always the one to come to. Whenever we had an issue, something at school, or like whenever my mom was sick, he was always the protector, the provider. And that's why, I'm forever grateful to have a father like that, because there's not too many people who can hold that role to a standard like my father did. And the whole reason why I'm into all this fitness stuff, the reason why I'm a track athlete, the reason why I played soccer, I played basketball, all these physical sports, the reason why I'm competing in track at a high level now is all because of him. Believe it or not, like his presence in my life, just watching him, how he taught me how to swim when I was 8 years old. I was almost helpless out there. I didn't know how to swim, obviously being a child, and he threw me out there. Like he said, he showed me how to swim. He, step by step, I had the little floaty, and then before you know it, I was out there swimming. And like So many people nowadays don't know how to swim, and they don't teach their kids how to swim. So it's a repeated cycle of people not knowing how to swim. But my dad was so knowledgeable, guys. My dad was very experienced with everything, and that's what he learned in Africa, y'all. So that's why I've always been such a quick learner. I've always been eager to learn from others. It's because my dad showed me that, and he didn't have to tell me; he just showed me, and I admire him for that because it all happened naturally. It wasn't forced. Yeah, my dad is a very intelligent, very, very confident, very he's very, very, very inspiring, y'all. Like how he lost everything. I mean, everything. Like he had to throw it away, and then he came here, telling himself, I'm gonna start a family here. I'm gonna build a long generation, and my kids will be successful, and I'll put them in a position to do it. And he did exactly that, y'all. And my mom's done just the same amount too. I mean, he was there for her when she had cancer, malaria, and it got really bad, y'all. I was only 2 years old, but my father was there. That's the most important part. He was present. He didn't abandon anybody. He didn't abandon us. He didn't fold. He never folded. I'll never forget. There was a day when I want to say it was about, really, honestly, like 7 years old or 6 years old. But I was young, right? 6, 7, 5, around that age. And I had this balloon, and he could probably vouch for me on this. He probably remembers it. But I'll never forget when I let go of the balloon for a second. The balloon, it was a really windy day. It was over the summer, probably 2013, 2012. I let go of the balloon. Balloon went flying. The balloon was out of there, y'all. And when I tell you, this guy went straight into superhero mode and chased for that balloon for miles. Like he went chasing for that balloon for miles, y'all. And he didn't get it, obviously, because the balloon was way too high. It was long gone. But just the effort, the effort that he put in to get that balloon back for me, after I was crying a little bit, being a kid, and I got a new one, but just the idea of my dad being that superhero, that hero figure, that person that I could rely on for anything, right? That's what being a father is all about. And nowadays we really need to appreciate our fathers and what they've done for us, especially while they're still here. I want to thank my father for teaching me how to swim. I mean, he's taught me almost everything, right? He's taught me how the little stuff, mowing the grass, all these types of labors, right? Laundry, like he's done it all. Ironing, he showed me some of that. Riding my bike, even though like he waited until I was like 8. Doesn't matter. But yeah, he's just been that teacher for me. That the teacher that I needed, because who else was gonna teach me for real? But yeah. I mean, man, my dad was so intelligent, still is. And, just hearing about how he was, working with animals as a vet in Africa, being in the lab, that put an influence on me. I became more attached to animals. I wanted to understand animals more just because, because of what my dad was. You know how they say, like, you're more likely to be like who your parents were. Like, if your dad's a Republican you're more likely to become a Republican. Yeah, that stuff is really true because your parents really do have an influence on your perspective of things because you're raised by them and you're surrounded by them all the time. So yeah, I mean, grew a huge interest in wildlife and connecting with animals. I mean, he showed me a couple things with like insects. I'll never forget when I was a kid. I would always point at an insect. I'd be like, "What is that?" And then he'd always be able to tell me what it was. And I still ask him to this day. I've just seen like these weird, like exotic insects, and he'll be able to tell me what they are, what they do, and yeah, it's just cool to have someone that just knows animals for real. It's lit. It's lit. I love my dad. Dad, if you ever end up watching this or you end up seeing it, just know that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you to be my dad, and I hope you are grateful for me to be your son. Um, I hope sometime in the future, I can I can hear more stories about you when you were younger because I never really hear those. I hear a little bit, but I feel like there's a lot out there that I haven't learned, and I feel like you can help me with that. And yeah, I mean, you're 60 years old. I'm 17. That age gap. I mean, you've seen a lot. I bet, right? I know you've seen a lot. So hopefully sometime you can tell me a couple more stories. I'd love to understand because y'all, Africa is just a different world out there. It's just different.